Welcome to Keep the Hotel Empty. Today we've kept the hotel empty for Playwright, all-around creative, and someone who is not afraid to live. It is never too late to live your dream. Miss Robyn Bishop-Marin.
I love that.
Robyn,
thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, when I read that on your website, I thought, that's perfect. That's us. You can live your dream. That is Keep the Hotel Empty written all over it. So I was really stoked to see that. So I know that you, as you put it, you kind of reinvented yourself in your mid-50s. But I'm used to having guests come in that have some kind of like clear arc to their creative journey. And I can say, take me back to this point where it started, where you did X, Y, and Z. But I'm curious if you can take me back to the point where you see this line that you break in your mid-50s starting, and where the contrast and the inspiration gets born from.
Yeah, it gets born from when someone throws a grenade in your life. Like someone comes in and they just lob a grenade into your situation. I was just happily doing my life. My husband of 33 years didn't want to be married anymore. I had no idea he didn't want to be married anymore. We were not fighting. We weren't yelling. We weren't having like the most epic marriage year of our life, but it wasn't bad. But he threw a grenade and I hit rock bottom within a couple of months.
And at this point, you were a business owner?
Yeah, I owned a yoga studio here in Sarasota called Yoga SRQ. I had moved from SoCal with my former husband and our youngest son in 2009. Opened a yoga. I had a yoga studio in LA for 7 years. Decided to go ahead and open a studio here, Yoga SRQ. It was downtown on Pineapple. Then I moved it down to the South Trail near Simon's Restaurant. So I was working in my yoga studio, and I was, a happy-go-lucky wife kind of thing. And it hit me from the side. It was particularly damaging because as yogis, we kind of think that maybe we're more enlightened, we're in tune to what's going on in our lives. And I always thought that people who had no idea they were in an unhappy relationship, they said they didn't know. I thought they were a myth, or I thought they were lying, actually. So I busted a myth that I had already always believed.
Those are always rough moments.
Yeah, it was really hard. I mainly taught class in the morning, would lock the door, and literally get under my desk and cry. But that's not really the story. What happened is I started keeping a journal, and I've always journaled since the time I was probably 13 or 14 years old, and I'd only journal when my life was just in the crapper. I would never journal when things were great. And I didn't know until recently that a lot of people do that because it's cathartic to get these feelings out.
Right.
And if you write for even 15 or 20 minutes a day, it can lift your anxiety. So I didn't know that, but I guess instinctively I did. But I started writing when he left because I thought, I'm not going to remember any of this. Like, I'm in shock. And I have something I call euphoric recall, where I only remember the good stuff, which just kind of serves me.
I was going to say, that's gift and curse, I suppose.
Yeah, it's mostly a gift. But I've always been fascinated by like what we do as humans. And I thought, oh, he's just thrown a grenade. This is going to make for a good story someday. It's my story if I can write it down. So I started keeping this journal.
So what was it that you recalled a time in the past when the journal had been cathartic for you, or just the journal was an old familiarity that now took on a new role of catharsis?
I didn't know what else to do, Auric. I thought, I got to write this down. Literally, I won't remember it. And then after a couple months, I would drive to the studio, and I would drive down Ocean Avenue on Siesta Key, and in the windscreen of my car, I would see a movie playing. And I thought, oh, I think I'm going to write a movie about this. It's like the rom-com gone wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm going to write a movie. So I just kept writing. Had an opportunity to move to New York City. And I don't know if you've ever been in this situation before where you don't know what to do, so you do nothing. And then all of a sudden you know what you want to do, and there's a fire under your butt.
Right.
So I had an opportunity to move to New York City, sold my house, my car, my studio, and I took 2 suitcases with me to New York City, where I knew exactly one person.
And how long post knowing you were going to separate from your husband did this happen?
You mean after?
Yeah.
3 years.
Oh, okay. So you had a little breathing room in there.
I had 3 years of rock bottom, like 3 years of like, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Did you feel like you weren't you in that time and it was going through the motions type action?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think when you are someone who meets their spouse young, I met him when I was 19, and this all happened at 53. So it's a lot of time and 3 kids, and I really didn't know how to be alone.
Right.
I didn't know how to be alone at all. So I thank God I had my yoga studio, because they say also one of the benefits of service to others is you get outside your own head.
Right.
You're not like me, myself, and my pain. You're like all of a sudden the one hand, reaching out a hand. So I did that in the daytime, but the nights were like monsters to me. Like I would either go to bed early and sleep a lot. I don't think I was depressed, but I didn't really want to be awake at night. So it was just like, let's go to bed early, watch a movie, and, go to sleep.
Well, in some sense, it's almost an instinct to preserve the healthy parts, too.
I guess so. But I knew I needed to do something different, because I had a friend from Russia, and one day her mother called me from Russia and said, in her Russian accent, "Oh, Robyn, I hear you have heartbreak. Oh, you can die from that. You will die." And I thought, is she kidding? Why is she making this call to me? She's like, "No, you can get cancer. You will die. This anxiety, it'll. So I hung up the phone with her. I looked it up, and it's called cardiomyopathy, where you have emotional stress and anxiety causes actual weakness in your heart muscle, and you can have a heart attack and die. So I thought, okay, this guy might not love me anymore, but I am not going to die.
Yeah.
I am not dying.
I'm drawing the line there.
I'm not dying over this. So I started writing a little, those yellow books, they're like dummy books.
Yeah.
And I started writing dummies, like Breakup for Dummies and what to do. And I knew that, if you're bored or you don't know what to do, you're supposed to get up and walk around your desk. If that's not big enough, you walk around your house. If that's not big enough, you walk around your house. If that's not big enough, you leave town. So I decided I can't leave town yet, but I can meet new people, do new things. I have to reinvent myself. I went home, I threw out my entire underwear drawer. I went and had a makeover. So at those points, are you feeling like, are you feeling pushed by the not wanting to be where you were, or more pulled towards whatever you're seeing as possibilities at that point? I had no possibilities.
Okay.
I wanted to get the hell away from where I was.
Okay.
The hell away from rock bottom. God, I have so many things I could tell you, but I was sitting at a symposium here in Sarasota at the Van Wezel, and they had the Navy SEAL that supposedly took out Osama bin Laden. Mm-hmm. His name's Robert O'Neill, and he was up on stage, and he was recounting the moment when they dropped him and his buddies into the compound. And I guess right after they dropped him in, the helicopter outside the compound had crashed.
Right.
And he started using all kinds of language on stage, like we were effing this and so scared. And I started leaning in, because how can someone that's so brave be afraid at the same time? And that was the first time in my life. I was probably 55 years old. I was like, you can be brave and scared? They go together? I never imagined they went together. But I took that home, and I was like, brave and scared, I'm brave. I'm going to be brave, even though I'm scared out of my mind.
Scared gave you the opportunity to be brave.
Yeah, because I didn't know. I didn't know I was brave. I just thought I was like kind of a mouse and abandoned and pushed aside. And then I had this opportunity to move to New York. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm doing that. I am doing that.
And what was that like? The moment that you decide you're going to do that? I mean, you've got enough of a road behind you that, like you said, you got to sell a house, you got to sell a business, you got to sell a car, you got to figure out what's going to go in the 2 suitcases.
Well, you want to get something done, ask a busy person. I got busy making the change. I got busy, put my business up for sale, My car was pretty easy. The house was a chore to sell. But I basically locked it and said, you know what? I'm not staying here anymore. Like, you cannot sell, but I'm not living here anymore. I basically was a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And I was talking to my house. But the minute I left my house, that's when it sold. So I got up to New York. It was the first time that no one was looking for me. I could literally be anonymously alone amongst 8 million people. No one knew I was alone. So I didn't have to look alone. And I put my backpack on my back every day, and I just was like, okay, New York, like, show me. If this is where it can happen, show me what to do here. I went to every lecture. I went to every jazz club. Because being married at 21, but knowing my husband at 19, and then separating 53, I didn't have a lot of alone time. I never dated. I didn't know what it was like to be by myself in a city at all. So I did everything. I said yes to everything. I ended up, on the 8th day I was there, I said yes to a tour of the Chrysler Building. A friend of mine that I had met randomly was the H&R girl for Apple, and she said, I'm going to take some of the Apple photographers up to the 67th and the 68th floor of the Chrysler Building. My neighbor leases those 2 floors out, and he loves to give these private tours. Mm-hmm. So I've got a picture of myself, actually I have a picture of it, of me hanging out the 68th floor. They're holding on to my hips, of my hanging out, pointing at the Empire State Building. And the guy said, Robyn, you know, like after the tour, how long have you lived in New York? And I said, well, 8 days. And he basically looked at me like I had just like hotwired the city or something. He's like, and you're at the top of the Chrysler Building? He's like, you're going to have a fantastic time here. And I did. I ended up on an episode of The Real Housewives of New York, totally accident. I wasn't an actress at the time that I moved to New York. I was not a writer and I was not an actress. But I ended up...
What did you see yourself as?
A wanderer.
At this point, you were identity blank slate.
Yep. Fearless. Totally fearless.
Or at least willing to be brave.
By the time I got to New York, I was fearless. I literally got lost in the city, didn't care. I didn't have a lot to lose. I felt like Teflon. There was this movie with Kurt Russell, and I can't remember who it was with, but he crashes in an airplane, and he's one of the sole survivors, and he walks out, and he decides that he's going to be fearless. And that's exactly how I felt. I felt like my world has crashed, and nothing can hurt me. And I'm not going to get cancer. I'm not going to die.
They're not going to take away your birthday. That's what my mom used to tell me.
They're not going to take away my birth date. Yeah. So I was fearless. I did all kinds of stuff.
Do you think that was always a part of your personality, that this opportunity or this circumstance gave you the opportunity to bring out? Or do you think that this was something you deliberately chose at that time to make of yourself?
I've always been really independent. When I was 15, my mom left my dad and 2 younger brothers and an older sister. My dad melted down. My sister went to go follow the Grateful Dead on the back of her boyfriend's motorcycle. She was 17, I was 15. Then we had a 5 and a 10-year-old little brother. And my parents lost the house. And I went to go live with a woman who rented a room out of her apartment across the street from my high school. So for my junior and senior year, I went and got almost a full-time job, and I supported myself in the early days of my life.
So you had some template how to do this. It had just been a minute since you worked off that one.
Oh, yeah. When he left, I was like, what does this smell like?
Right.
Oh, this smells like people have split.
Right.
What do I do now?
Right. See, and that's kind of the thing. And that's the reason why I ask, because I feel like a lot of people, your propensity when you're there that's a point where people can give themselves license to be stuck.
Yeah.
And it seems like you did the direct opposite. So I'm always curious about asking how that was within your own skin in your own mind, because I think that's what people don't talk about a lot. And I think it helps give one another permission to look like you own the place after 8 days when you're really just doing the damn thing.
You're doing the damn thing. And that's actually kind of brings us almost like full circle to what I'm doing right now. Can I tell you what I'm doing right now?
Yes.
Okay,
I didn't want to spoil your word.
Okay.
Because I know you got a good word.
I got it. So I ended up writing a play in New York. I took my journals out to meetups. I joined Meetup, and I would take journal entries out to meetups. People like them. I got encouraged to take them to, well, why don't you go to this writers directors meetup? Why don't you go to this actors meetup and take this scene out? So I started taking all these journal entries out in 2018 around New York. They said, what are you going to do with all these pieces, Robyn? I said, I'm going to write a movie. I'm a rom-com. I'm a chick flick girl. This is a rom-com. And they said, well, you know, you're in New York. This is Broadway, baby.
Right.
You should write a play. And I said, I don't know how to write a play. And they said, well, do you know how to write a screenplay? I was like, good point. So I took a course, wrote a play. It actually got produced twice. Was off Broadway in 2023 with that show. And now what I'm doing with it is I've turned it into what I'm calling a TED Talk. And I've turned it into a motivational talk, how to be not stuck. It's from rock bottom to remodel.
Like that.
Yeah. So it's an inspirational talk to get people to move off the space they're stuck in, and do things they've never done. Try new things. So
when you're first taking this around, you're taking your journal entries around and you're having encouraging reactions to it, what are you thinking at that point? Are you thinking these people don't know that these are just my journal entries? Did you have like some, I don't want to call it imposter syndrome, but did it feel strange, or did you feel like you were getting in the groove?
I loved it. I've always liked to talk, and I think that communication for me always makes me feel better. I'm not one to sit at home and not talk to people. I reach out, I talk to friends all the time. So this one particular journal entry, I liked this experience in my life. It was a pivotal experience in my growth and part of my healing. So I liked getting up and reading it. And I didn't care if they liked it or not, because I was fearless, and I didn't care at all. So I didn't have imposter syndrome then. That came when I actually went on stage and had to perform in front of people.
And I absolutely want to get there. But what are you thinking when you're getting these positive reactions to what you're writing, and then you realize you need to take a course? Like, this is another one of those operative points where it's like the middle ground between your ideas and where your dreams can go. A lot of people get lost and or stuck there. Is it easy for you to be self-critical, for want of a better way of putting it, and see where your shortcomings are and just go right at them?
No. I'm not really a good self-starter. I do get stuck a lot. But something came to me that everything going forward was going to be an experiment. And everything before, my life felt, very prescriptive. Like I had already written the rest of my life, even at 53. I knew I was going to do this. I knew I was going to do that. When it all got ripped up and thrown away, everything became an experiment. And I didn't really care about what stage I was at. I just kept pushing it forward, even a little. And if it went, I would push it even more. And I kind of took on like what I would consider like the non-attachment, like Buddhist approach. Like this thing that I'm doing now, because I had never been on a stage before, telling my true stories, but they were mine. And I didn't care if people liked them or not. It was kind of like when people say, if someone said to you, like, your kids are ugly, you'd be like, whatever, I think they're beautiful. Right?
Yeah.
So I didn't care. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, well, I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
You did. And I get kind of curious, like, and the reason why I asked about being self-critical or those things, because I feel like a lot of people, they see now we're kind of presented people having all these big dreams and then people that have the fruition of all their big dreams. You never really see the part where they have to take the class or they have to be bad at it or they have to, you know, look in the mirror and be like, you know, I want to write a screenplay, but it turns out I don't know how to write all that well. And then instead of just saying, I guess I'm not writing a screenplay, they say, I'm going to take the course.
Yeah.
It's that moment I'm curious how that is.
Well, okay, so someone said, take this course. They gave me the name of it. I called. I signed myself up. I followed all the directions. I had all the time in the world to do it. I loved sitting in my New York City apartment, looking at the skyline. At the time, I was listening to this podcast called How I Built That, or this, with Guy Raz, about he interviews billionaire founders, and a lot of them came out of New York City. And so I was looking at New York, sitting in my apartment writing. That inspired me. And then I'll have to say I got a lot of yeses early in the project. Have you heard someone say, like, when you start something new, get used to hearing no?
Yeah.
Like, I have that on my fridge right now. But in the early beginning of this project, I got, it's good, Robyn. This is good. I like this. You should do this. Can I see more? I like it. I'm going to send it to a Hollywood director. Took a couple months to get, you know, word back from him, but he's like, I like this. Don't know who this woman is, but I like how she writes. I don't know if she can carry a stage. You know, what has she done? So I got a lot of yeses, and that probably helped me. I think someone was looking out for me because I don't know if I'd be here now if I had gotten a lot of no's early on.
Right.
I don't know. But I did get yeses, and I'm still getting yeses.
What do you think that the honest nature or the self-disclosing nature of your story at its root is the reason for that?
Maybe. Yeah, because it's really real.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I was going to say, tell me the title, talk to me a little bit, give me the synopsis of this a little bit, because I want to now talk about where we're getting into. You get to the point where you're going to perform the thing by yourself.
The play.
Yeah.
Okay. The play is called A Girl Far From Normal. I'm originally from Normal, Illinois.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I was born in Wisconsin. So
you were? Okay.
I thought.
Do you know Normal?
Yes, and when I saw the water tower in the graphic, I was like, I thought so. Okay, good. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to divert there, but.
So it's an autobiographical story of about 5 years of my life. And it's about a woman, me, who is obsessed with romantic movies, rom-coms, chick flicks, romance movies. I literally watch them all the time because they always end happily. And the first one that I watched was The Sound of Music when I was 6 years old. And you saw The Sound of Music. Mm-hmm. When I looked up and I saw the captain in the first scene, I knew, like, I'm not psychic or anything, but like my little 6-year-old self, I knew I was going to marry someone exactly like that. I just knew it. Like my eyes are blue. It was something I knew. And not too many years later, when I was 19, he showed up in my life one day. I call it LAFS, love at first sight.
Yeah.
Like we fell in love, both of us, which is fantastic when it happens. At the same time, we basically moved in 3 weeks later, and we got married 2 years later. We had our first son, and we just went off rolling into this great life. Until, now this is the play. All of this is in the play.
Right.
So until the day that he just walks into my home office and says, "You're awesome, but I don't want to do this anymore." I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Literally, what are you talking about? So, well, maybe we should go to a marriage therapist.
Right.
Okay. We've been to marriage therapists before. We probably wouldn't have stayed married for 33 years had we not been to them every so often.
I was just going to say 33 years is a marriage that requires some making sure you're staying on top of it.
Yeah. So the marriage therapist, after a couple sessions, said, "Well, Robyn, your husband, he wants to take marriage vacation." And I said, "What the fuck is that? I've never heard, can we say that word on this show?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
Did we just make this up?
Fuck, I've never heard of a marriage vacation. Like, I love marriage, I love vacation, but I don't want them together."
Right.
And the therapist's like, well, you should probably pack because, you know, he's leaving. So he left and ensued like, okay, what am I going to do now? So then I kind of fast forward the story. Actually, I back up the story and I say, the moment I heard that or the moment he left, it reminded me of my mom, when my mom left. And I was like, wow, this is familiar.
Right.
Now, I have always believed that losing love is like losing blood. Like, you can only lose so much love until you or blood until you die. And I believe that that is the same for love. Because I don't know if you've ever been heartbroken before, but it's painful. Like, literally, I'm going to cry right now. It's so painful. And I really felt like I was hemorrhaging when he left. And I remember feeling like that when my parents left. And I was like, oh, I got to scramble here. I got to scramble here to like put the tourniquet on. What am I going to do? So in the play, I take kind of like myself by the shoulders and I decide to change my life. And I actually start right down here at Florida Studio Theater, where I started taking evening classes. And I filled up every single one of my evenings with things like ballroom dancing. I did stand-up comedy at McCurdy's.
No way.
Oh, yeah. I bombed, basically, but I did it.
But your instinct was to not let yourself have idle time.
Definitely.
That's the operative bit.
Yeah. I took a no fear acting class on a Tuesday night because it was Tuesday. I don't know if you know Jason Cannon in town. He used to be a teacher there, and he's like, go around the room, you know, tell us your name while you're here. I'm like, hey, my name's Robyn. I'm here because it's Tuesday. And they thought I was trying to be funny because everybody else wanted to be an actor in there. So,
and you just didn't want to have nothing to do on Tuesday.
No, exactly. So then when I talk about the class that I took at McCurdy's, on stage I tell them I also took a class at the comic strip in New York City. And then then the scene changes on stage and you're sitting in at the comic strip. I've got the comic strip on a big, big screen behind me. It looks like I'm actually at the comic strip.
Nice.
And, we switch costumes a little bit. I change on stage, I take off a dress. I've got like a bodysuit underneath. Take off a dress, put on a mini skirt, put on some high heels, put on a ball cap, grab a microphone, and I do like a 13-minute set in the middle of my show.
That's cool.
So it's conversational. I break all semblance of the fourth wall. I do have a conversation with the audience. In one scene, a man stands up and starts talking to me like he's my former husband. And I'm like, we start having a conversation. And I mean, New York City audiences are pretty smart.
Right.
But at first they're like, what?
It takes
Is
a second.
Her husband here? Yeah. And then I kick him out, big hero here. And then in my healing process, I go to a spa, a Korean day spa in California, and I recreate the spa, the music and the background, and it's one of those Korean day spas where everybody goes naked, and I'm there with my girlfriend, and before that, she has suggested that we go on this cleanse. So I've been cleansing, I've been fasting for a week, I get there, and the treatment is this food treatment where they rub yogurt all over you and honey and milk, and I'm trying to eat it. And it's pretty pathetic. And this little Korean woman ends up like really healing my heart, and it's a pretty funny scene. And then there's a scene where I decide that I've healed my heart and that I'm going to do a little thing called lucid dreaming. And I had taken this workshop. And lucid dreaming is when you're dreaming.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And you're dreaming, and you get so excited that you wake yourself up. So this lucid dreaming and manifesting is if you can get into your dream, make yourself stay in your dream, know you're dreaming, you can puppeteer your dream any which way you want it to go. So this is what you're supposed to do. You get into bed, and you say, I can remember my dreams. Now, this is a scene in the show. I can remember my dreams. I want to remember my dreams. I will remember my dreams. And then you say out loud, you're all comfy in bed, what you want to dream about. And I said, I want to fall in love again. And so I go to sleep. and I don't dream. I wake up and I try it again. I can, I want, I will remember my dreams. I want to fall in love again. And I'm dreaming, and I know I'm dreaming. I'm really excited that I know I'm dreaming, and I'm like in the most like passionate kiss I've ever had. I mean, it is just so wonderful. And it's my former husband. And I pull the emergency brake on the dream. Okay, and at this point in the play, the former husband is spotlighted on the side stage in his pajamas. And he's like, what am I doing here? You know, and he's got his little eye mask on. And then I proceed to kick him out of the stage again, kick him out of my bedroom stage kind of thing.
Right.
So then I try it again. And I say, I can, I want, I will remember my dreams. I want to fall in love again with someone new. And I'm dreaming. I know I'm dreaming. And this time, I'm in the Caribbean on a small sailboat at night in a storm by myself. And it's horrible. I don't even know how to sail. So I don't know why I picked this dream. But I'm just about to crash into some multi-million-dollar yachts when this man, he dives in the water, he gets on my boat, he lashes my sails, he pulls us in, and we're safe, and we fall in love. And I have a picture to show you. See if I have it handy. And you're never going to believe who it was. It was Howard Stern. And I'm like, Howard, what? I love you, but I don't like you. I kind of borderline hate you. How is this possible? How is this possible? And he's like, oh, baby, my show, it's just a show. He's like, the man that you have fallen in love with, this is the real man. And I'm like, now Howard is now like on a 20-foot by 15-foot screen behind me, and I'm on a bench talking to him, and it's pretty theatrical. It's pretty great.
Love it.
Yeah, and then I'm like, he is the last person I'd ever fall in love with, and I'm kind of tortured by that. I wake up, I stomp around New York for a bit. Like, what? Why would I? How did I fall in love with Howard Stern? The last person on the planet that I would fall in love with. And then I realized that, have you ever had a dream and then you call, have you ever had a dream about Seth and you're like, hey Seth, you were in my dream last night. Like he had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
So we're all the characters. We're the design, the set design, the writer, the director, the producer. We're all the actors. I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but I think the person that actually fell in love with me that night was like me. Like I rescued myself. I'm actually Howard Stern.
Yes.
So that was the message, is that I had to fall in love with myself, I guess. So that's a scene. And then I kind of talk about rom-coms a little bit and why I love them so much. And I say, there's really no ending to this play because she's supposed to fall in love again. But then I go back and I say, well, she really did, fall in love with herself. It's kind of a cutesy ending, but it does end happily like all rom-coms. So.
Well, yeah, you've got that part set up. It had to end happily.
Yeah.
Well, let me press rewind then to the bit where you're first taking acting classes and you're here on a Tuesday just because it's Tuesday. You haven't written anything or showed anything to anybody at this point, right?
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
Okay, so you're literally just doing this as an exercise to fill time.
Yes.
And are you taking away from those classes feelings of I want to do more of this, or you're taking away from those classes, I'm glad I didn't sit alone tonight?
I'm glad I didn't sit alone tonight, and this is kind of fun. This is kind of fun.
So then when you got to New York, you just thought to yourself, well, that acting class was kind of fun. Maybe I should...
Exactly.
This was just totally the happenstance of your willingness to experiment, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, I was playing Frisbee golf in Central Park. Like on Meetup, you know what Meetup is?
Yeah.
You just tick off all the things that you like, from pottery to Frisbee golf to whatever.
Yeah.
I ticked off monologuing. And
just because of having taken this class?
Yeah. And I just ended up, paying my $8 and going to that Meetup one time. Yeah.
So how much experience did you have from this class? Was this just a couple of Tuesday nights, or you did this for a while before you went to New York?
I did it for about a year.
Okay.
That class. And I also took a class called Spoken Memoir, which was right up my alley because I like to journal and I like to talk about it.
Yeah. So you did that here in Sarasota too?
Yeah.
So I guess that's one of the one of the unique attributes to Sarasota that played well for you. So when you got to New York, you just had this broad swath of things you could do, and you just wind up doing that.
Yeah.
So that seems, all of those things seem unbelievable other than when they're believable, which is why I love doing this show, so we can share those stories. But when you first start writing it and you're getting all these positive responses, like you said, and people are saying, hey, this is good, I want to see more of it. At what point does it come to you that it's going to be you who puts it on, like you physically performing it? Was that always part of it, or did that become necessity as it just started to grow?
I always imagined someone else would play me because I didn't know if I could carry 90 minutes on a stage. And I ended up signing on a director named Pete Jones. He's written with the Farrelly brothers. And he's like, well, I'm only going to be your director if you play you. Oh. I love you, Robyn. You have to play you. Now, when it's a movie, he said, you know, we'll get Jennifer Garner or Leslie Mann or somebody cool like that. But I'm only on it if you're in it. And I was like, okay. So I need acting classes like right now.
Okay, so that's another one of those moments. Did you have any time where you were sitting there thinking to yourself, oh God, I can't do this? Or was just instantly shift gears, all I got to do is add this tool to my shed and I'll do it? Loved
doing it. I knew I could do it. I started... Like I told you when I was 6 and I saw The Captain and I knew that. Okay, so I've only had a couple of like knowings in my life. I knew it was going to make off-Broadway or bigger. I actually saw my name in like a kiosk. I saw that. Have you seen my little emoji girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw her. I saw her on like in lights on a little kiosk. And I thought, oh, I'm doing this.
And then at that point, let Fearless take over.
Yeah.
So when was the first time you performed your own work?
In 2021 at the Flea Theater in Tribeca. I had a 5-night run. A gentleman named Daniel Friedman produced it for me. And I had actually a new director at the time, Matthew Harrison, out of Vancouver, Canada. And he gave me massive like acting classes. I started taking Zoom classes with him.
Nice.
Yeah. So 2021.
So 2021, that's a tumultuous time. You're coming straight off the pandemic. So
yeah.
Did you spend pandemic time like incubating your skills?
Exactly. So I had lived in New York for 2 years, 2.5 years. And I had that moment in time. I don't know if you've ever lived in a big city.
I lived in LA for a while.
Okay.
But I've never been to New York.
Okay. You got to go. I had been to a doctor's appointment, like a regular checkup. And there was the line that said, name your local emergency contact, and my pen froze. Like I had no one instinctively to put down. I walked outside. It was so cold, and I was having a lonely day, and I thought, what the F am I doing here? I had already had this director and producer signed on. This is late 2019. And they said, well, you're not going to be ready till 2021. So I thought, 2 years. 2 more years, I have to stay in New York. I thought, I'm out of here. I'm going home to LA because I'm from LA.
Oh, okay.
So guess when I moved from New York City to LA? February 20th, 2020.
Oh, perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Oh, man.
I had no laundry in my apartment. No one knew the pandemic was coming in late February.
I was going to say you got like 5 minutes to be ready for the next 10 months.
Yeah. So I got locked down. I rented this little beach bungalow in my hometown in LA. And I thought, what am I going to do during the pandemic? I'm going to learn 90 minutes of dialogue. Ah. I pasted it all over my apartment, pages in every room. And it took me 3 months to learn 90 minutes. And it sounds like, the dialogue sounds like I'm just talking to you right now, but it is word for word. There's no ad-libbing. There's no wrong word. I can't mess up because it's like following popcorn in back to where you're going. If I go on down a tangent, I'll get lost and I'm like, where am I?
Right.
So I ended up actually producing it twice in LA under COVID guidelines in someone's giant backyard. I socially distanced them. I hired A guy that used to work on Shark Tank, he was a videographer for Shark Tank. He wasn't working. I hired a sound guy from off Meghan Trainor's tour. He wasn't working because I had a connection that knew all these people.
And everybody's stuck there.
They're all stuck. So I hired them for just pennies, produced it twice, 2 months apart, because I couldn't fit as many people as I wanted in the backyards, because I would sell 3 tickets and I go, okay, you 3 are here. You're walking in with your masks. You can sit down, keep your masks on, take your masks off. And it was like a full production in someone's backyard.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there's no point in wasting any time.
No.
That's a mantra you got for sure.
Yeah. And then 2020 came around, and I talked to Daniel, my producer, and I said, I'm ready to do this. And send me the video. Send him the video. You're still rough. I go, no, I'm ready. And if you're not going to be my producer, then we're going to break our contract, and I'm going to find someone else to do it, because I'm not letting this go. He said, okay, I'm still your producer. I'm still your producer, and I'll do it, and I'll do it. So, but I had to perform to a masked audience. You know, everyone was wearing a mask in the audience.
Their first indoor performance?
Yeah, in New York City.
Okay.
So it's technically considered. So there's off Broadway,
right?
Off Broadway and Broadway,
right?
I didn't know this, but so off Broadway is 1 seat to 99 seats. Off Broadway is 100 seats to 299 seats, and Broadway is 299 and up. Doesn't matter where you are on the island. You have to be in New York. And so I was off Broadway in a 60-seat house. So, and we packed the house for 5 nights, but I could only see everybody's eyes.
How was that?
Weird. Because I'm not a comedian, so there's not a lot of ha ha ha, you know, there's a lot of like what you just did. So I really just did my thing, and I couldn't really decipher too much if, you know, looking at people's eyes too much.
Right.
I just did my thing, and there are a couple funny scenes, and I just went for it.
Well, that had to be like a good, an odd trial by unique fire.
Yeah.
You know, you had to have the confidence to keep going, whether or not you knew if it was going well. That's kind of a weird position to be in as a performer. Usually you know whether or not it's going well.
It was very strange. It was very strange, and just, I loved every second of it. So
then you did perform it after then, no masks.
Right.
Okay. And then we'll get to the ones you got coming up.
Okay.
So what was it like when you got to do it for the first time and you could have some interaction with the crowd? You could kind of see how this was going, and it had developed in you personally a bit by that point too, yeah? Yeah.
It was absolutely intoxicating.
Yeah?
Yeah, like I'm a stage light person. I'm like, where's the light? Yeah, like I'm a regular actress now. Like I love being on stage, and I really enjoy entertaining an audience. I love the moments of silence. I love the questions, the rhetorical questions, because I do these like little side, like kitchen table philosophy notes. I go on these little tangents. I kind of confuse and excite the audience all at the same time. And I like really waking people up. I like to see maybe the water form in their eyes, and then I like to see them laugh or go like this to their friend or grab their friend's hand. And it makes me feel like I'm not so low in the world. Like if they're feeling what I'm feeling, then we're all in this together. So I really, really like the process of it.
Yeah, it's strange. I've never heard a performer. I'm so used to musicians describing that. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Where you can feel that type of camaraderie in whatever it is you're sharing. Do you find it at all daunting or more liberating that what you're presenting is your story and everybody knows that? I mean, it's a crucial bit of it that you're up there telling your own story. You're not acting out a character's story. Has that ever been daunting, or has it only been liberating and exciting?
It's been daunting because there's some real personal information in there. Right. And I do have, I have 3 adult sons that live here in Sarasota. I have a former husband who gets mentioned a lot. And he kind of greenlit it for me. I spoke to him and I said, this is what I'm doing. He's like, okay, Robyn, this is your destiny. Go for it. So he kind of gave me permission. And I've softened some of the things in the story as the story has gone on. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't daunting, really, to do that. It was, I like how the story changes, because I change, and how I think about the story changes.
So each time, does it kind of, I guess even when you couldn't see what it was providing for other people to share your story, does it ever not provide to you what it always has to share your story?
I think it's going to be like my yoga studio. The moment that I don't want to unlock the door and go in, and I don't feel like I'm serving a purpose anymore, that was the day I closed my studio. And I think the moment that, because I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for the people that are sitting in front of me now. And so if I'm not either entertaining them or giving them a little doggy bag of information to take home, then I'll stop doing it. And I'll go try to do commercials, you know, for Ultra Bright toothpaste or something.
Yeah,
you know, I'll go try to be an actress, because I do like acting, but I don't consider what I'm doing acting.
Do you think that if someone would have told you maybe as little as 6 months or a year before your separation with your husband that you were going to end up loving acting, that you would have thought that they were talking to you at all?
Not at all. Not at all. I did have another one of those knowings. I had little children. I must have been in my 30s, and I snuck off to a matinee movie one day. And I saw a movie with Sally Field. Don't know what it was called, but she was a suburban housewife. She went into like Philly or Boston or something without her family knowing it. She would go do stand-up. And I'm watching Sally Field, and I thought, I don't know why, but I think that feels familiar. That feels like something familiar. So I did have a feeling at some point I would be, and I thought it was public speaking that I was going to do, not comedy. And then when I became a yoga teacher, you've probably taken yoga, we do all the talking and there's really no talking in yoga. I thought, oh, this is my public speaking platform.
Right.
Then when I became this writer performer, I was like, oh, but no, not before. No.
Even though the framework was there, it just was nowhere near the surface of your mind.
These things I'm telling you now are things I remembered after.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
They're like, I remember, oh, Sally Field. Oh, I remember that. But I didn't remember it like in my current memory.
Yeah.
No, I thought we were going to be married forever. I was going to live where I live forever. I was going to have grandchildren, be, the typical Grammy.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And it's kind of another thing I want people to know is that we're so much more than what we've done. And we have so much more potential than what we're doing now. And people, I don't want to use the word stuck, but they just get into a certain thing that they do and they think this is all there is.
Right.
I got pushed. I got a hard push to do something different. Because if I didn't, I would have died. I would have been so sad that I couldn't have changed. So I really want to inspire people to just kind of go for it.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. That's really the thing. I guess a lot of people can stay stuck, or we can stick ourselves at points because it doesn't seem like there's another choice. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Obviously, but I guess it's the right foot, left foot part. And that's what people forget. It's okay to take the class. And sometimes, I guess, let me ask you this. When you had to close the doors of the yoga studio, or when you chose to close the doors of the yoga studio, at that point, did you feel defeated?
No. Oh, no. At that point, I was moving to New York.
Because, and the reason why I asked that is because, there's an adage that I like to use all the time, say, in order to pick something up, you have to put something down.
Yes.
And we get scared to put things down sometimes because we might not ever have anything to pick up again. And I guess I'm curious if you felt like when you were putting those things down, if you ever were like, oh shit, I might not be able to pick anything up again.
No, not at all. Now, it took me 3 years. He left. I stayed alone for 3 years.
So the putting it down was a process.
It was a long process. By the time I was ready to sell and lock the door, I couldn't get out of town fast enough.
I think a lot of people can relate to that one for sure. Yeah. When it's time to go, it's time to go. Yeah. So now you kind of wearing shoes that fit. You've done this production a few times. You've done it in some crazy circumstances and in some more normal ones. And now you've got some performances coming up in July, right?
No.
Isn't that what you said, July 12th or something? I thought I saw something that said that.
No.
Oh.
Oh,
well,
no. Maybe
I'm manifesting it.
Maybe you are.
No, or maybe I was looking at an old flyer and didn't realize it was a different year.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So how long was 2023 the last time you performed it?
Yeah, the full run. Yeah.
So do you want to do that again, or you want to write something new?
I don't want to write something new. I have written something new, but it's based on that. So I do have a budget to turn it into a movie. I have a new director and a new producer, but they want me to raise the money for it, and I'm really bad at raising money, so I haven't even tried, but I have a budget for it. And it would be a very small budget movie filmed for like a Netflix or Hulu or Amazon or whatever,
right.
And it would be a very high glossy version of the stage play. So they want me again. They want me to stand on stage. It would be an audience, whether we'd film it at Ringling or Soundstage in LA or a theater in LA. So that's one thing that I have, but I haven't pushed it yet because I haven't tried to raise the money.
Gotcha.
But what I think my most effective way to reach people now is I've shortened it. It's 90 minutes, 55 pages, the play, and I've shortened it to 35 pages, 40 minutes, a motivational like TED Talk.
And this is where you coined the phrase Inspo-tainment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's my inspirational entertainment
enlighten me on that portion of the show.
Okay. So I've gone from yoga teacher, educator, to entertainer, off-Broadway playwright, back to educator. But my show is meant to entertain. Like, it is said that people like to learn, but they don't like to be taught. You know, so they don't want it to be too much on the nose. So I've shortened the play, and I've added solutions for problems. So it's a true motivational talk that I can take on a circuit around the country or around the world to talk to people about loss, grief, heartbreak, how to get from rock bottom to remodel.
I love that.
And I take them through things to do, not to do. So essentially, kind of motivational talk 101 is, what problem are you solving for the audience? And I'm solving heartbreak or grief or not being able to figure out how to move on.
What do you think are some of the biggest challenges or the most common challenges that people face in that arena that you're able to help them see differently?
Well, number one, I think that I'm like the poster child. Like, I think if you really want to help somebody, you've got to have been there yourself. And so I speak like from personal experience. Like, listen, it happened to me. Like, and this is what I did.
Right.
But number one, either I saw this in people getting started with yoga, or in this, it's just doing it. Literally, one thing a week. Change one thing about your life. You don't have to change everything, but it's starting. Sometimes people won't finish things or won't start things because they don't know how it's finished. And my motto is, I use my cell phone every day. I have no idea how it works, but it does, right? So I don't know how I'm going to get on stages with my new motivational talk. I don't care that I don't know how. I'm going to do it, I'm going to provide it, and I'm going to figure it out. And that's what I want to inspire people to do, is just start. Start with something, anything.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I really appreciate you sharing that. And I always circle that back to self-discipline because I feel like, or I seem to find that a lot of people can't get off square one because they're afraid of square two. Just like you said, you got to do it every week. And that sort of seems daunting to people. What are some of the things you think have helped you keep your commitments to yourself to be able to see these experiments, even though you don't know where they're going, through to some kind of end, even if that end is a temporary fulfillment from you that you learned and moved on from?
Well, I have a couple key ingredients that I like to pass to people. And one is, I believe that God wants us to be happy, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it. And as long as we're here and breathing, we have the opportunity to do something. We're actionable. You know, we're living still in a free country where we can choose essentially what we want to do. And what I've always done is I've looked at other people who are not as well off as myself, whether in physical ability, mental capacity, and I say, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And then, unfortunately, I've had a couple people pass away, and I do it for them.
Yeah, that's the.
So that is why I get up every day. It's why I go to the gym every day, because I'm like, well, you know, if my brother-in-law Mikey was here, he would go to the gym.
Right.
Go to the gym, you know?
Yes.
So do it while you can, and that's my motivation. That's what I tell people. Perspective is the key to happiness.
Yeah, well, that's the Stoic philosophy that your world is painted by the color of your thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm big on that too. That's that again. I'm grateful for you sharing those things because that's universally a way to empower yourself, and I feel like you can't get unstuck if you can't find a way to empower yourself. And for some people, it's going to the gym. Some people, it's writing or journaling or whatever the case may be. But one of the big things we definitely want to make sure that the show is getting across to people is it's okay to chase your dream.
It's okay to chase your dream. Find people that are already doing your dream and go hang out with them.
Yeah. When did that start hitting you?
I just thought of that just now. Well, you know, they say that we are a combination of the 5 people that we hang out with.
Right, exactly.
So, man, in New York, I was hanging out with writers and directors and producers, and so no wonder I ended up doing what I did. So, you know, if people are stuck, look at someone that you admire, what they're doing, and ask them for some free advice. Sit with them. Go have coffee with them.
I was going to say, it's the making a connection.
Yes. People love to share where they've been. People love to help other people, show them the roadmap. Because it's the new talk, I haven't really thought of a title yet, but it was going to be called Heartbreak Blueprint or Heartbreak Roadmap or something like that. Because you need a map. You need something to look at. You need someone to talk to who's been there, done that. You know, if you wanted to teach someone how to put a podcast studio, you'd be like, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I love teaching people. That's an aside for me, too. I do love that. I've taught for years. I do love teaching anything audio or teaching guitar. So I can relate there, too. It is. Do you think that we're kind of... do you ever feel that you're chiseling away at the opposite of that? Like, because right now we have so much of everybody's siloed off into their own worlds, and we're quick to judge, and you can hide behind the keyboard, and you can have conversations without having to be in the same room as people. That's another thing with the show. We deliberately don't do Zoom interviews or things because I personally do find it exceedingly beneficial to actually be able to talk to a person. Do you feel that some of what you're doing is helping keep the notion of talking to a person alive and being honestly relatable to one another?
Yeah,
is
I think we
part
need
of it?
I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with my devices. I wish I didn't need it. I know that I isolate on my phone, and I know, and I just came from my spoken memoir class. You know, it's from 2 to 4 on Mondays. I still take it. Because and I cut it short early to be here. I need to be over there. I need to keep my voice going. You know, I absolutely feel like we need more human interaction.
Yes. Amen
Definitely.
to that. Yes, I used to say that I wanted to do, this was, I never say this, but I wanted to do a little aside going around doing talks and call it BHI, basic human interaction. Because in my former life, I did sales for a minute and I came across so many different kinds of people that I hadn't in the entertainment industry. And it was just striking me how awkward everybody was trying to talk to each other. It's like, wow, we've gotten really bad at basic human interaction.
Seems like we're getting worse. Like I wear my ear pods to the gym and guess what? No one talks to me, you know? And if I wear them into O&A Coffee or wherever I'm going, you know?
Oh, shout out O&A.
Yeah, I love that place. No one will talk to you. So I just saw a podcast with Shankar Vedantam, Human Brain, I think it's called. And it's talking about talking to strangers. Like we all need to just lift our head a little bit and talk to strangers. It feels awkward because you don't want to like bust anybody's space. But, you know, you smile at someone, you start talking to them. When we can share stories is when we can have empathy for each other.
Big facts.
I actually ended up on stage at a Broadway show with Paul Mercurio. And he has a Broadway show called Permission to Speak. And his idea is if we just share stories, we tell each other our stories, there's less space between us. And I went to this show by myself in the lobby getting a cocktail. I saw this guy and I judged him as like a CPA or something. And then 5 minutes later, super hot young guy comes in, gorgeous, starts talking to him. And I'm making up a story. Oh, he works for him or they're in business together.
Seen it all unfold.
I've got it all. We go in. Paul gets on stage and he says what this show is going to be about. He says it's interactive. He says all my questions are not rhetorical. You can answer any of my questions. And he says, thank you for coming. And somebody in the audience goes, you're welcome. And he goes, okay, house lights up. Who was that? It was the guy I thought that was the CPA. He goes, would you mind coming on stage? The guy goes on stage. He starts interviewing him. Turns out he and his brother, he was 5, his brother was 7. They were part of the Cuban angel flights out of Cuba, I guess in the 50s, where parents were sending their kids to Catholic churches, and then they were sending them on angel flights to Miami to avoid the indoctrination of communism. And these 2 boys, 5 and 7, lived for 5 years in an orphanage in Miami without their parents. And all of a sudden, and the guy was not an attractive man. Sorry for that. But all of a sudden, I'm hearing a story, and I'm leaning in thinking, I'd go on a date with that guy. He's so interesting. And he was like the ambassador to some other country. So he says to the guy, well, who are you here with? You're so interesting. And I'm like, I know who he's here with. I know who he's here with. And he goes, who are you here with? And he's like, well, this, house lights up, points at the younger guy. Younger guy does not want to go on stage. And he finally walks up there, and Paul Mercurio goes, so, how long have you been gay? He goes, oh, I'm not gay. He goes, how long have you been gay? He goes, I came out of the closet last year. They were on a date.
That's what I thought when you first started explaining this.
And I was like, I love these guys. Then,
that's awesome.
To finish the story, he starts doing his thing again, kind of like stand-up, just kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
And then he goes, house lights up. Let me see who I want to talk to now. And sure enough, he points right at me. Pulls me up on stage, interviews me for like 15 minutes. I was in the middle of writing the play. He's like, well, you're definitely going to have a story someday. And I said, I know. I know.
Love it.
To your point, when we talk to strangers and when we hear each other's stories, we're more elbow to elbow with each other and compassionate and all the good things that we want to be.
Right.
And sometimes they're afraid. I'm still afraid to reach out. Sometimes I'm shy.
Yeah, right.
I am shy.
Yeah, I know. I can relate to that too, because I've met lots of people who say they're shy but then put themselves on stage. There's some weird dichotomy there.
There is.
I've never had either. I'm not shy and I love being on stage. So it's all good with me. They could never shut me up and knew that was what was going to happen to me. So I'm good with that. Well, let's get you out of here on something fun.
Okay.
I would like to know whether or not it's your play or your condensed version. If you could take either one of those and have it be performed, or you to give the monologue anywhere for any group of people, where would you do it?
I want to be on the TED stage in any city in America with a very big audience. And it would be my motivational talk.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're feeling the sharing the empowerment of that one, yeah?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming down and sharing it.
Thank you for having me, Eric.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for you, Sharon. You got so much in line with what we want to spread here, and I'm always grateful when someone can be themselves, tell their story, and help others, and you're clearly doing that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.